there are some issues that are related to the sighting of the moon. Some issues related to the sighting of the moon. The first issue that we take, and this is a mas'ala ijtihadiyya. Yani mas'ala ijtihadiyya, but it's definitely from the important issues that are mentioned with regards to this affair. And the people of knowledge, they call this issue ittihad al-matari'. Ittihad al-matari'. Yani the moon sightings, are they the same all throughout the world? Like, is the rising of the moon the same all throughout the world, or are they different? Meaning, again, the question, would it suffice that one person seen the moon and testify to that, and then the rest of the world has to fast based upon his testimony? Or does every land have its own specific moon sighting? Or does every land have its own specific moon sighting? We understand that, the question? This is the issue that's known as ittihad al-matari'. Ittihad al-matari'. Yani أو اختلافها. And Allah knows best. What is correct is that every land, it has its own sighting. Every land, it has its own sighting. This is what is correct, and Allah knows best. That every land, any that is close, any the lands that are close to each other, meaning the lands that have a very close time with regards to the daily prayers, they're not different. The daily prayers are very close in their timing. The lands that are like this, then they have the same sighting. And the lands that are different, and the times of the daily prayers are different, and by a great amount, then they will have likewise a different moon sighting. Then they will likewise have a different moon sighting. We understand the issue? The people of knowledge, they have mentioned with regards to this affair that the evidence for this is from two aspects. The first aspect is from al-athar, and the second aspect is from an-nazar. And the first aspect is that there's a narration and there's a textual proof. And likewise, the second aspect of evidence for this issue is by examining the reality of the situation. So with regards to the athar, then it's been narrated in Sahih Muslim from the hadith of Quraib, rahimahullah ta'ala, is from the tabi'een, that in the time of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu and his khilafah, that he was sent to Asham, and he was in Asham whenever the month of Ramadan entered, and they sighted the moon on the night of Jumu'ah. And then he finished his business in Sham, and he returned in the end of Ramadan to Al-Medina. And whenever he returned, he met Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. And Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he asked him about the sighting of the moon in Sham. So he informed him. He said that we saw the moon on Friday night. On Friday night, Ibn Abbas, he said, "You saw it?" He said, "Yes, I saw it." And the people saw it, and we fasted. And then Ibn Abbas and radiallahu anhuma, he said, as for us here, we didn't see it till Saturday night. So we're going to continue fasting. So we're going to continue fasting until we see it, or we complete the period. So then Qurayb, he asked him, "Ala taktafi bi ru'yati Muawiyah wa siyamihi?" Will you not suffice with the viewing of Muawiyah and the fasting of Muawiyah radiyallahu anhu? When Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, he said no. هكذا أمرنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. No, like this is how the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he has ordered us. The people of knowledge, they mentioned that then this is his understanding from these texts that have preceded. Sumu li ru'yatihi wa aftiru li ru'yatihi. And to fast at the sighting of the new moon, and to break the fast at the sighting of the new moon. So therefore we see that clearly the position of Abdullah ibn Abbas and radiallahu anhuma, that he did not suffice with the ruling or the viewing or the sighting that was in Sham, and that he believed that in their land they had their own sighting, and they saw it on the night that they saw it, and they fasted based upon that sighting. So this is the evidence here for this issue. And likewise, it's understood, or what is apparent from this, that this is also the position of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, because he was the Khalifa. He is the leader of the believers at that time, and it's not mentioned that he sent out messengers to the different lands to inform them that they saw the moon. It's not mentioned that he sent out messengers to inform them that they saw the moon. And had that been the position, and had that been the obligation, and had that been the understanding, it would have been incumbent upon him to send messengers at his sighting, and at his sighting of the moon. And it's not mentioned that he did that. Rather, the people of knowledge, they mention likewise, this is what is apparent, also the position of the Al-Khulafa Ar-Rashidin, yani the four Khulafa, because likewise it's not mentioned about them either, that whenever the sighting of the moon was established, that they would send messengers to the rest of the Muslim lands to inform them that it had been sighted. This is not transmitted from them that they did that. An indication that they would suffice with the sighting of each land, and each land would sight the moon accordingly, and they would rely upon their sighting. Another aspect of how this is the strongest position is the fact that it's very difficult, especially in those days before we had the modern technology and were able to communicate throughout the lands quickly and the likes. They used to have to send messages. And so if it was a requirement for all of the Muslims to fast based upon the sighting of one Muslim in one land, and then the people in this land, they will be curious and wondering, was it sighted in that land? And the people in that land, they're wondering, was it sighted in that land? And this is a great difficulty, and sometimes it would take days or longer before one of the messengers would reach one of the lands, from the distant lands. So this is definitely a hardship upon the ummah, that if it was incumbent for all of them to fast at the sighting of one Muslim, wherever he may be, and this is definitely a hardship and a difficulty. That they would have to send messengers, and they would have to be alert and aware of these things. And even this is not mentioned then, that the Khulafa nor Muawiyah here, radiyallahu anhum jami'an, that they would send out messengers to inform the people that it was sighted in their particular land, and that the people in the rest of the lands, they have to fast. That the people in the rest of the lands, they have to fast. So therefore, the best position, and Allah knows best with regards to this, is that every land, it has its own sighting. It has its own sighting. And how to differentiate between the lands is looking at the times of the prayer. By looking at the times of the prayer, the lands that have generally the prayers at time are close to each other, then they are the lands that are considered having the same moon sightings. But if you go further away and further away, then the times of their prayers, they become different and different. For example, in America, the time of prayer in the time of Dhuhr in Stone Mountain, Georgia, is much different than the time of Dhuhr in San Diego, California, for example. In San Diego, California, for example, the time of Dhuhr is much different. And even the time right now is much different. It's daylight for them right now. It's daylight for them, and they're in the same country. But the land is big, and the distance is far. So the likes like this, then it's very possible, whether it's the reality, that the moon sighting will be different. That the moon sighting will be different in these lands. So this is the reality. But there's another point, important point to mention, and that is with regards to in the Muslim countries. If a Muslim ruler, he chooses a particular position, then that position, it must be followed. If a particular ruler, he says that he's going to side with the siding of any Muslim that's reliable, and he'll suffice with this Muslim or that Muslim, even if the people or some of the people in that land did not agree with him in this, it's incumbent for them to follow him now. Because this issue here, as we began this mas'ala with, ijtihad, mas'ala ijtihadiyah. It's a mas'ala ijtihadiyah. There's no clear text with regards to this. So this is a mas'ala where the people of knowledge, they're striving with the knowledge and the foundations and fundamentals that they have to achieve these rulings and the likes like this. And we see which one is strong, the one that we mentioned. But if the ruler, he chose another position, now it's incumbent to follow him. Because the people of knowledge, they mentioned that حكم الحاكم في المسائل الاجتهادية في المسائل الاجتهادية يرفع الخلاف. That the choice that the Muslim ruler, he takes in the issues of ijtihad, then his position and his ruling removes all differing. There's no more differing anymore. The issue there is ijtihad, and there's a differing of opinion. If the Muslim ruler chooses one of those opinions, that differing goes away. There's no more differing. It's not allowed to differ anymore. And this is something that is established in the madhab of the Salaf. And it is known in the days of Uthman radiallahu anhu that he had an ijtihad. And in Mina, instead of shortening the prayer, he prayed 4 rak'ah. And the Sahaba, they did not agree with him in that. And from them, Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. But what did Ibn Mas'ud do? أتم خلفه وقال الخلاف شر كله. Although he did not agree with his masala in this issue, but Uthman, he's the ruler radiallahu anhu, and he chose that position, so he followed him, because differing with the ruler is evil. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.